Hello everybody and welcome back to talk to all of you again today, and the first thing I'm going to say is language warning. This video is going to have strong language. I know because I have younger kids who watch my videos and I want their parents to not let them watch this one. So let's get to it. So the other day I was reading through my Reddit main page and a thread from the World of Warships subreddit popped up, and it had gotten quite a few comments. It was pretty popular, so I went ahead, clicked on it, and read it, and it was about toxicity from Flamu. Now, before I start this next part, because I know somebody is going to get really pissed at me and say, hey, you're attacking him and all that shit. No, this is not an attack on Flamu. Flamu is a good player, he's knowledgeable, and he provides valuable opinions to the community. My issue actually has to do with what the community's response below was. And what the community's response was is that they were trying to justify his behavior by the fact that he's a skilled player. And while they were at it, they also made a point to say that pretty much everybody else was shit. And Flamu is the ship Jesus. And he is the most knowledgeable deity of this game. That's complete and total bullshit. Alright? He makes mistakes just like everybody else. But the funny thing is, he's never held accountable for his mistakes. Nobody ever seems to remember that he makes mistakes. But other people, holy shit, watch the fuck out, right? Notzer, he made that video about IFHE on Des Moines. And yeah, his choice of wording wasn't great. His justification for some things weren't that great. And it's been a year and 5 months and he's still being shit on. Like, you could go read that Reddit thread and you're like, wow, there are people who are still shitting on Notzer even today. But Flamu makes mistakes, makes big mistakes, has zero knowledge about some shit nobody fucking remembers. But Notzer makes one bad video and that's it. He's just somehow become the laughing stock for all time. That's not fair. Notzer puts in work. There's other videos that he makes that offer valuable opinions, valuable tips, valuable things. And the thing is, and this is the big issue, is that when people put one person like Flamu onto that fucking pedestal and they treat him like he is fucking Jesus, and then they start to attack every other person who has an opinion that differs from him, it creates an atmosphere where other community contributors eventually just say, well, you know what, I'm not really going to engage with that particular community anymore. An example is the World of Warships subreddit. There's a lot of community contributors that don't engage on that platform anymore. Their posts are highly infrequent. Why? Because seriously, do you really want to be in a community where you put in time, you put in work, you make something content related, you want to share it, and then people shit on you, not based on that particular video, but based on a mistake you did a year and 5 months ago? It's, people eventually just say, well, you know what, forget it, right? And what this causes in the long run, and this is the sort of central issue, what this causes in the long run is you lose that diversity of opinion. You lose that diversity of thoughts, and it just becomes one thought. It's like, imagine if your entire news consumption was just Fox News. Eventually, that's all you see, and you lose every other perspective, even if those other perspectives could have actually been beneficial to you. Because let's be honest, the people who are at Flamu's skill level is a pretty small population over the overall World of Warships population. But before I continue with my main point, somebody out there is probably going to be like, well, fucking prove it, right? Prove to me that Flamu has made these mistakes that you've said that he's made and that nobody seems to remember. Sure, no problem. Let's go back a while. I think this was all the way back to March of 2017. We had Alabama. And at the time, there was a difference between Alabama and North Carolina Sigma. North Carolina had 2.0 Sigma, Alabama had 1.9, 0.1 Sigma less. And I remember Flamu's video about that same ship.
So to call it a incredibly situational advantage is understating it. Whereas what you trade off in return is the single most important battleship characteristic, Sigma, aka accuracy. Here we get a prime example of the issues of trading off Sigma for something so situational. I mean, yeah, exactly. Because ultimately, sigma, sigma, sigma. That's what you're giving up. You're giving up the single least situational battleship characteristic for the probably one of the most situational battleship characteristics.
And because he was put into that position, that became a big point. Like, that 0.1 sigma was so fucking significant. Anybody who didn't agree with him didn't know what the fuck they were talking about because Ship Jesus said it was true. Except, he didn't have a fucking clue what he was talking about at the time. Why? Because 6 months later, he'd make another video about the Giulio Cesare.
But they have given it 1.9 sigma. Now, sigma is one of the factors that determine how much vertical dispersion you have.
Of course, he was then corrected by someone else on Reddit who came out very bluntly and told him that he had no idea what he was talking about. It took him 6 months to finally understand what sigma was. But does anybody shit on him when he posts anything these days? No. Nobody discards his opinion because of something he didn't understand a year ago. People understand. He's a human being. He'll learn. He'll understand some things. And, you know, his opinions and his experience and the way he plays, still valuable. So why is there this double standard? Why is the community so toxic to certain people still? Right? Like, Notzer doesn't engage on Reddit, to the best of my knowledge. At least he hasn't done so for the last 3 months. I think I haven't engaged on Reddit for months as well. I think other CCs, it's very limited engagements. You know, maybe an occasional meme post there, something funny that they saw. That's it. They don't really engage anymore. Why? Because the entire area has just become so unbelievably toxic with this fucking ridiculous double standard. And it really needs to fucking stop. Because all it's doing right now is it's causing CCs to just disengage from whole communities like the World Warship subreddit and just going, nope, not bothering, not going to go on there. And then what you're losing is you're losing that diversity of opinions, playstyles, experiences, etc. Because you know what? The truth of the matter is, sometimes, even as CCs, we're not going to see a different thing. We just don't. Like, I had a conversation with another community contributor, Virtual Senpai, about the Alaska. I really liked Alaska. Virtual Senpai didn't like Alaska at all. And we had this whole discussion, and at first Senpai didn't want to agree with me at all. Why? Oh, the guns are horrible, they don't penetrate stuff, and I'm like, you're going after the wrong targets. And it was after a pretty solid back and forth, you know, that Senpai was like, alright, you know what, I'll give whatever the fuck you're talking about a go. And it helped for Senpai, because afterwards Senpai was like, wow, you know, this ship is quite different if I do this than what I was doing before. Because the truth of the matter is exactly this. We're human beings. We are sometimes very much stuck in our way of play, our style of play, sometimes even our opinions, our preconceptions about how a ship plays. And sometimes we ourselves don't figure it out. Sometimes it takes, you know, a different perspective, a different look to say, oh, you know what, hey, that might make sense. And that's true for the greater community as well. Because, hey, maybe you watch Flamu's video and whatever he's doing is perfect for you. Fantastic. But maybe for someone else, that same video doesn't do it, or that bit of live streaming doesn't do it for them, because it's like, hey, that is not how I play at all. And I don't play this way. Okay, well, maybe there's another community contributor who can satisfy that. And maybe there is. And maybe there's another CC who plays differently, maybe they play in a different style, or they have a different awareness of certain things, and they play differently. And it fits more to how this person plays. Fantastic. Right? That's what we want. We want that diversity of opinion, we want that diversity of ideas and playstyles, because only that will allow us to get better. And that's all I wanted to say today. We can do better as a community. We can be more open to different ideas, different perspectives, different styles of play. Sure, if people fuck up royally and they completely get a mechanic wrong, we should be able to point that out and be like, hey, you completely misunderstood this. But that should not be a defining moment for their entire contributions. It shouldn't be like, just because you made that one gaffe, that everything else you do afterwards is negated. Hell, I mean, I talked to Little White Mouse. She is one of the most respected CCs, I would think, in World of Warships. And she's made mistakes. And she tells me, she's like, yep, made pretty bad mistakes before. But her overall body of work is fantastic. And that's what we should be looking at. So guys and girls, we as a community can do better. We can create a community where multiple opinions, multiple styles of play, multiple experiences can all find their place. Instead of one being put on a pedestal and everyone else is being put down. That's all I gotta say today. Take care, folks, and I'll talk to all of you again tomorrow.